How is this balanced? Look at this. And also look at their wheels. I don't know what's going on, but how on earth is this balanced? Hello and welcome back to some more Total Tank Simulator. Now, if you're a nerd like me, you will know that Total Tank Simulator has been updated today. So what we're going to do with today's video is we're going to take you through the changes and how that's actually going to affect the gameplay within Total Tank Simulator. But first things first, I want to say that I'm incredibly excited about this, because what it means is that the TTS development team is going to be continuing to update and patch the game even after its full release. Now, today's video is actually going to be quite a short video, and the reason that is because this is actually, in the grand scheme of things, a fairly small update. Now, the Total Tank Simulator development team have actually addressed this themselves. They have actually said, yes, this is a small update. We're doing something to keep you guys happy, to keep you going, and that they are listening to the feedback. They recently put out a survey. They said they've had over 700 responses, and actually based on that, they've just said that they're going to be introducing new units to Total Tank Simulator, which I'm incredibly excited to get my hands on. But what has changed in today's update? So, as you can see on screen right here, the main things that they've added in this update are the military base, which basically spawns a bunch of different and unique units that you don't get from the barracks, the airfield, or the tank factory. And then they've also introduced, which is a really important one, officers in the sandbox mode. Now, this is incredibly important because it removed half the vehicles from the game, which was ridiculous. So a brilliant step in the right direction, TTS development team. Much respect to you for that. And they've also, for scrubs like me, if you've watched my stream campaigns where I just fail every single time and lose the whole progress, they've actually introduced some mid-campaign saves, which is really going to help idiots like me. So in the light of this new update, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through each individual nation and show you which new vehicles you're going to be able to see and play with in the sandbox mode for Total Tank Simulator. Now, I've actually just gone through myself, and it's absolutely incredible just how many they chopped out of the game for some random reason, but it doesn't matter because they are here now. But without further ado, we're going to start with Germany. Now, this isn't one that you're going to write home about, but this is the Panzer 1B light tank, moving swiftly on to the Panzer 4 medium tank, which is one of the most heavily and well-known, actually, German tanks. So amazing that wasn't in there, but it is now. And then moving along, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but actually I learnt on my stream last night, surprisingly I didn't know about this tank previously. It's called the I can't do it, I can't pronounce it, but it looks like a Russian T-28. It's quite weird. It's not like a typical German design. Moving on, I believe we have a monster. This is the upgraded mouse, effectively now, the E100, which many of you may not be familiar with. I think this was still just a prototype, whereas 2 mouses were actually produced, but awesome to have that in the game. It's worth 1,100 points, so that's going to be a heavy hitter. Look at the size of it. It's absolutely crazy. And then moving on, we've got the Hetzer, another amazing little tank that, I'm really happy to see make it in. Look at this guy in the middle right here. Look at this thing. It's such a little meme tank. This used to be incredible back in the day on World Tanks. And then last but not least, the Yank Tiger, which is another monster. I believe it's on the Tiger 2, the King Tiger's chassis. Correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, just by looking at it, actually, in fact, there's no factual basis for that whatsoever. I looked at it and went, now, also you will see here, we have the big barracks, which you can spawn anything you want. All of these units you see here are now actually spawnable units within the game, which brings a lot more diversity to the sandbox mode. So we're going to be able to create really cool engagements now. Now, moving over to the Russians, I'm now going to show you the Russian vehicles and what's changed in here. We've now got the T-28, which is what that German tank just over there looks like. What can we say about this? It's a weird looking tank. It's an early developed tank, light armor. It's just a bog standard tank, but cool to have it in there. More choices. Moving along, we now have the T-34-85, which is basically just an upgraded version of the T-34 with a bigger gun, a stronger hull, stronger turret, all this kind of stuff. And then we move along to the T-35, which I believe is basically just an upgraded version of the T-28. And then yet again, moving on from that, we go to the SMK, which is another meme tank. This is almost like the one that you get in the special division, or whatever you call it, classified, I think it's called in this game. What is that actually? Oh no, we're looking at the wrong team here. I should click on this one. Yeah, the T-42. Not quite as mental as that, but it's basically a small T-42. And this one doesn't spawn dogs. And last but not least, we got the Su-85. So I believe, now I'm actually not 100% sure if it was the Su-85 or the Su-100 that was added, but one of them was added. And yet again, here is the Russian factory. And here is a list of all of the things that you can spawn from said Russian factory. Now moving over to the Brits, I think the Brits were sorely in need of some upgrades to their tanks, so I'm really chuffed this update's come out. And obviously the most important one that everyone was looking forward to, the Mark III. Said nobody ever. But moving on from the Mark III, we have the Comet, which is basically just a better Cromwell. I'm actually excited to have this in the game, but my favorite tank of all time in history is the next one right here. We got the Centurion. In fact, they call it the Cent. Interesting. This thing came out in 1945, just missing the war, but an incredibly versatile tank. And actually the South African military still has some operational Centurions within their arsenal. Now these tanks have lasted 75, 60, like they've lasted an incredible amount of time, which is a testament to how the British used to be able to build things. Not anymore. And moving along, we have the T-34B, which I believe is just an American tank that for some reason the Brits have. I don't really know, maybe it was a Lend-Lease program, I'm not sure. There'll be some history behind that. But another one that I'm incredibly excited to introduce to you right here is a Tortoise. Oh yeah, this thing is a behemoth. Look at the state of that. It's just a box. Why, like, some British tanks are good, some of them are just horrific, but that's that. And then again, what you can get in here is you can get all of these vehicles right here that you can see in front of it. All of that is now available within this barracks also. Okay, so moving on to the American roster. What has Total Tank Simulator got in store for the Americans? They have the M3 Lee. This thing is mixed opinions on it, to be honest. I mean, look at the state of it. Like, nothing is practical or functional about this monstrosity, but still a fairly functional tank, actually. And then moving swiftly on, we have the Fury, which I believe in the movie Fury was an M1A3, but that wasn't released until 1945, so this would be an M1A2 Easy 8. So I'm not quite sure how they're playing that one. But anyway, moving straight on, we're going on to this Super Pershing. Now this, in my opinion, is possibly one of the best looking tanks of all time. Look at the spaced armor around the turret. It looks meaty. It looks incredibly meaty. I'm really happy to see that in a game. And then yet again, the Americans also have the T-34B. So that is on the British and the American roster. And then last but not least for the Americans, we have the M3 GMC, which I must admit, I actually don't know a lot about. But this is actually an anti-tank gun, believe it or not. I mean, I'm not sure how the suspension on this thing's going to hold up. But I guess it's a half track, really. And then yet again, the Americans in their garage have all of these up for grabs. We've taken a look at the Americans, we've taken a look at the Germans, we've taken a look at the Russians and the Brits. Now we're going to take a look at France and Poland. Okay, so what's been added to the Polish roster, yes, this actually is the Polish, is basically entirely just French tanks have been added in here. But most of the Polish tanks are either British and or French. In fact, if not all of them, other than the 7, 9 and the 10 TP, that's French, that's British, that's French, that's British, that's French, and that's French. Anyway, the H-35 has been added to the Polish roster, and then also the Char D2 and the Char B1 bis. Now, not much for the Polish there, but at least it spreads out the units that they have available and basically just flashes out a little bit more. And then yet again, you can see in here their vehicles that they got here, and also you can see again some of these are actually just French, to be honest. So the additions to the French roster is actually exactly the same as the update to the Polish tech tree, minus one difference. So we got the H-35, we got the Char D2 and the Char B1 once again, but we also have the Tortoise. This monstrosity is back and it's now on the French side. This is a British tank, but obviously through some sort of a Lend-Lease program, I imagine they got their hands on it, and that's why it's in here. And then finally you can see all of the units that you can get in this military building here. So to finish off this video covering the update for Total Tank Simulator, I have to address this. Now, this military building only costs 250 points instead of 2,000 for the factory, okay? And it spawns units based on how expensive they are. Now, the armored car is actually worth 30 points. And so, effectively, it spawns one every single second. Now, Total Tank Simulator has never been balanced, so it only makes sense that a Total Tank Simulator update would also be horrifically balanced. So, let's just press play, and let me just show you what happens. Look at the state of this! Look at the state of this, and if you think that this is going to be an unfair battle, just you wait, because the exact same thing's happening over here. Look at the state of this. This Total Tank Simulator update is just as chaotic as the rest of the game. What is this? Okay, look, like this game's been running for, what, 30 seconds? Look how many armored cars there are. Look how horrifically balanced this is. Now, I should say, folks, this was actually the update for Total Tank Simulator, and this, I guess I'm not even going to call it a bug, this feature in Total Tank Simulator was actually recommended to me in my Discord. Now, we have a Discord channel we have a Discord page rather for this channel. It's been growing rapidly, so if you want to get involved, you want to be part of the community, you want to recommend any of these ideas, anything like that, jump in there. The link will be in the description below. And if you've got to this point in the video and you haven't already subscribed, I'd recommend doing so, because I will be covering all of the updates, doing more streams and playing more Total Tank Simulator, and I'm really enjoying it. So thank you very much for joining me. Now, before we leave, I'm just gonna quickly just turn around. Oh my god. Right, we're gonna call it there. This is ridiculous. Catch you in the next video.